Good morning. This is Mikie Fernley, and good morning to my St. Thomas's family. So nice to see you. I've been a member of St. Thomas's since 1979 when I married my husband Bob, and I am fairly active now, and I'm a member of the choir. So many times I see you behind the screen at St. Thomas's. So how are we dealing with this recent turn of events? Well, me personally, I have been self-quarantining since I'm starting my 5th week. This was at the request of the CDC and my son Jared and my daughter Elise, all three of whom advised me that I was old. I didn't think I was old before, but according to the three of them, I am. So hence, I am self-quarantined. I think it's very frustrating for many of us when we're being in a passive state, to feel as if we're doing anything to contribute to this emergency cause. So I think that's a real juxtaposition of ideas. I think it's very frustrating for many of us. I know it is for me. But if that is the request of the scientists and of our leadership, then I'm in. So I'm doing my part. So basically, I cope by having little rituals. I try to set a schedule for myself around the house. I try to keep my news watching to perhaps 20 minutes a day. And then I also pray. In the beginning, I couldn't pray. As Richard noted, I've been meditating for a really long time, but I was so fidgety, I couldn't even meditate. It was just very frustrating. But I am meditating now. I try to get myself calmed down. I read the forward movement pretty much every day, and also Healing After Loss, which is a big help. And when I can and when I'm able, I try to participate in prayer with the bishop at noon. I find it very uplifting and very comforting because I think we're creating a community of spiritual ammunition with prayers for each other. And the bishop specifically reads people's names. He's read a couple names that I have typed in the comments section. I find that really healing. But I think primarily, my big spiritual fortress or ammunition or whatever you want to call it is my beloved communion of saints. I've always loved the communion of saints. I was raised as a Catholic girl in West Philadelphia during the 60s, and I loved the saints. I memorized all their feast days. I had shoeboxes filled with holy cards. I prayed to St. Teresa, the Little Flower, to St. Bridget, patron saint of the kitchen, St. Christopher, everybody's favorite St. Francis. So I found a lot of solace as a young girl growing up in the comfort of the saints. Then recently, I have had my own family of saints, my celestial family, I call them. I grew up in a family of 9. And very sadly, I have lost 6 members of my family, 3 in the 70s and 3 more recently. And I also have lost my husband, Bob. So I pray to them a lot. I try to visualize what they would do in a crisis like this. I call on their strengths and on their struggles. I think of my father as a very young man in the war in the South Pacific in a submarine. Patience must have been impossible. He always was a very patient man, but I'm sure that experience really guided him. I think a lot about my Uncle Jack, who was in Iwo Jima in the war, gave me my nickname Mike. I think about my big brother Charlie, who flew reconnaissance missions in the war, in the Vietnam War. And I also think about my husband Bob. Bob was in the Horse Cavalry and was stationed in the Carolinas, and they were preparing for a land attack, an invasion that never came. But that was Bob's contribution to the war. I also think about my mom, who had 7 children, was responsible for 9 people, keeping us all together, trying to struggle financially, get us through school. We were a handful. We were fun, but we were not always easy. So I get great strength from my communion of saints. So I have a lot of gratitude. I'm grateful to my children who insisted on my self-quarantine. My son Jared, his wife Sarah, and Charlie, my grandson. I FaceTime with them every night at around 6 o'clock, 6:30. We have bath time with Charlie. And then I FaceTime with Elise, my daughter, and her husband Ryan, and they walk the dog together. We all have virtual walks with Rosie, so I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for all of you we are struggling to stay connected. The live streaming is wonderful. I sing along with all the hymns and I say all the prayers. And this is Holy Week, and so the resurrection will come on Sunday, and we will all be together no matter what. So my love to all of you until we meet again. Take care. Bye-bye.